I'm over to talk on the 10 principles for equipping students to excel in the workplace. Now, her background is in communication design, but I think she had this, there'll be resonances for many disciplines. So before we get going, I'd just like to acknowledge this meeting's taken place on Kaurna land, and we pay respect to elders past and present. So over to Simone. Thank you.
Thank you. So just a little, is that on? Yep, that's all good. Yeah, a little bit about me before I start. So I studied graphic design, then I worked in industry, in the graphic design industry for 15 years, and I worked mainly in branding. So I worked on, you know, Sydney Olympic brands and all the big brands of Australia, Telstra and Orica, and in the big branding industry. So I saw all the students come through. I was a design manager, and I saw how a lot of creative work doesn't get realised in industry. You know, it fails, and the students' businesses fail. So I saw a lot of failure, but I saw a lot of great things. And then after 15 years in industry, I went back to the university to teach. I decided I really wanted to teach. That was what I really wanted to do. And I've been now at Swinburne for 15 years teaching. And over that time, it took me 10 years to kind of develop. I didn't want to give up the real world projects because I just thought it was so valuable for the students. And I saw the fourth year students. We have a special program which has been going at Swinburne for 35 years, where our top 25 design students go out to industry for 1 year and they get paid. When they come back, I had them for a final year and they were so good. I could just see how what they'd learnt at university and what they'd learnt in industry merged together, and they just took off, and it was fantastic. But then I thought that's not fair on the rest of the students, because we have 1,000 design students. It's not fair on the rest of them that just 25 of them get to have this fabulous experience. How can I bring that experience into the classroom? So I think that's where some of these principles will be good, because they make it more realistic and tangible for everyone to try bringing some real world experience into the classroom. So yeah, these are the 10 principles that I'm going to talk about that I've come up with. What the students want is connections. The brief that industry and clients give you is really important. Giving the students a choice is really important. Creativity, we know, is what the World Economic Forum say they want all future young people to have, and they're going to excel in the workplace with it. So that's good for us in the creative industries. Research. Industry come to university because they're looking for a research angle, so we can, you know, honour that. Resources, giving the students a particular set of resources for your community of practice is very important. Project management, teaching them how to project manage, not just expecting them to do it, but actually giving them some skills or picking a leader and helping them with that. Reflection, that's becoming so big, teaching them and giving them the language to reflect. Feedback, similar to reflection, but what I'm talking about there is coordinating the feedback from university, peers and industry, which is so hard. And time. Obviously, when industry works with the university, it seems to be very problematic because everybody has a different, you know, the industry think we're a big beast and they can't work with us because they want when they want us, and we can't do that. We haven't got students at Christmas time. So that's it in a nutshell. So what do the students want, need and expect? So we've been doing surveys and I've been looking what they really want. They say they want discipline knowledge, and they do need discipline knowledge. But what they also really want is connections and networking opportunities when they're at university. So we can really harness that and give, and you know, so you can think in your own discipline how you can work on connections and networking. And they also say we want some work experience. If they can have one little job, even if it didn't actually happen, where they worked for somebody outside, and they can put that in their folios, or when they finish, graduate, it gives them a real leg up to get a job. What does industry say they need, want and expect of the students? Well, we've all been doing lots of polls on that. And here's the World Economic Forum. You can look that up online. They're saying the future will be complex problem solving. That's actually meant to say 2020, you know, into the future, not 2010. Sorry about that. Complex problem solving is the #1 skill, being complex problem solver. Critical thinking skills. then creativity. It used to be all the soft management, people skills, but they've dropped down, as you can see, to 4, and creativity has gone up to 3. And what they are saying they want is they want students to be able to, to be able to be a little bit entrepreneurial, to go to the company, their bosses in industry, and say, you know what, I've got this idea for the future. I think this client and this, or we could do this, and have some little idea and propose something. So if we can encourage that while they're at university, which is a great time for them to do it while they're quite innovative and risk-taking and, you know, fresh ideas. They're not constrained by what has to be. So it's a great time to get that creativity going. People management, coordinating others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making. I've really embedded decision making into my week 6 of my class now. Service, negotiating, and cognitive flexibility. So that's really, really great to have in our minds. That's what industry think they need. But we're also playing with not what the future, what everybody's thinking the future wants of our students, but what this future needs. And I was just speaking with Stuart here about how South Australia's leading the way on your recyclables and energy efficiency, and, you know, better than Victoria. And it's about creating the future that we want, and you've probably done that in that area for Australia. And so I think the university is a hub to be able to do that, to say to the students, what do you feel the future that you want to create is, and let's go about and create it, because then they'll be in the jobs. Then people are going away from that World Economic Forum set of traits and thinking about, what about personality traits? These are the 6 traits that this person, David Robson, has put in out as a story as the personality traits that are going to really help students excel in the workplace. So it's nice to work, you know, how we work with introverts and extroverts and this and that and the other personality. So if they're curious, so developing their curiosity, I really like the curiosity and the risk approach to try to get them to take risks, to be innovative and creative while they're at university. If they have any of these skills and they can harness them, and then they can verbalise them to industry, or, you know, actually get a set of words around that, then that's good for them to, when they get out into industry. So how do we teach to provide learning opportunities for these skills? So just to break this talk up just for half a minute, if you can talk, I'll show you the kind of things I do with my students in a lecture or in a big in a class. Talk to the person next to you about those skills, what the students need, any issues, problems that I've just talked about, to just reflect on it for half a minute to the person next to you, how it relates to you. Yeah.
So you've got 57 slides.
Yes. Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll give me a 5-minute warning. Yeah, that'd be good. Definitely. Yep. Thanks. Yep. Okay. I need a little. Oh. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Sorry, folks.
Thanks. Great. Hello. Okay, so just, yep. So just a small, like 1-minute breakout, and what I do in my classes to stop and get that reflection and embed the learning is have a half a minute, like, you know, 1 minute like this. Sometimes then in the next time I would get them to swap. Go and speak to someone you've never met before. Say hello, and you know, and talk about what we've just talked about for the last 15 minutes. And I do that every 15 minutes to promote networking and connections so they can create a little peer group between themselves. They really like that. And then because they finish their course and they say they haven't got any friends and they've never met anyone. So, you know, we need to promote that. So that's just, and the things that you talked about now, we'll talk about at the end when we have our question time. So how do we teach to provide those skills? What is happening? Oh dear. Keep going. Oh, it's coming up on your screen, but not on the big screen. Is it?
Sometimes we have
a lag?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just talk to this. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking, so how do we teach all of this? Well, as you've heard, I'm already very big on real world learning, which merges the theory and the practice. And there's lots of words for real world learning. There's authentic, industry connected, applied learning, problem-based, project-based, passion-based, work experience, capstone units, industry placement, and you've probably got more. And I think as a university body, we need to come up with something new, I think, because it's so contentious, all these words, and everyone says, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But this is what we're doing as a whole, so we might even need to invent a new word. So traditionally, in design, we would have used hypothetical briefs. And what's the problem with hypothetical briefs? They're still good, obviously, but I think what I've seen is it favours the students' intuition. They just go by what they think, and they tell me this now after doing both. I just researched my client on Google, and I just did what I wanted to do. And oh my God, when I got to talk to a real client, that wasn't what they were all about at all. So this sense of just self-expression, intuition, Google online, and I've got a great project, and it's completely out of context. Why don't lecturers, why don't we want to do real world learning opportunities for our students? What I hear a lot is, and you might think this yourself, I haven't got time to roll out the red carpet for clients. The red carpet, you know, waltz them in the door, get the car, and I've done this myself, having to get car parks and arrange tickets and, you know, get them there at the right room and the right time. We don't have time. It's true, we don't have time for that. So we have to work out a system for that. And also it doesn't work for big groups of students. It's all right for 15, 20, but what about when I've got, like you in nursing, 800 students in first year or something like that? But I have worked out a way where we can do this. That's okay. You're trying to get it up on the big screen. Yeah. Are we right? It's not working. It's not clicking now on there. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, getting those rolling the red carpet out for industry. So I'll just move forward on a point on that is that it is doable to get industry to come into the classroom. It is nice to get the students out into industry as well, and maybe they have one opportunity to go and maybe you get them to go and interview someone in industry, or they go and do their own case study where you send them out. I have done examples where I get my whole class to go and have their first lesson in an industry example, you know, in an office. But it is a lot of work, it really is. And it's absolutely fine to bring industry into the university. And one way of viewing it is if you can see industry as sponsoring the student learning. I really love this. It's not we are here to let the students have an experience to answer a brief and do what the industry wants, but industry are sponsoring our students' learning, partnering with us as lecturers to help the students to learn. So it's nice when you flip it on its head, and then you can reposition industry. And the industry says, well, I don't want to pay, and why should I waste my time coming in? Well, it is your responsibility.
I reckon it's
Yeah.
a clicker.
Oh, do you? It's working now. Yep, okay, we're all good. We're all good to go. Okay, no worries. So, okay, back to connections. So we need to foster those opportunities for students to connect to others, to each other in the class, to other classes, to other disciplines, to people in industry. One of my students said when I had an industry person come into the lecture and they were doing a project with them, I've never shaken anyone's hand before. That was really exciting. So we don't even realise the simple things that they've never had an opportunity to do. So that's, making connections is very important. I was in the beginning stages of the Melbourne Design Factory. I don't know, has anyone heard of that? Yeah, the Design Factory is a global network now. I went over to Aalto, which is in Finland, Helsinki. They're the first one. So they're the really, we have to honour them as kind of the masters of real world learning, and Finnish education is renowned globally. So it started with mechatronic engineering, and then they brought in design, business, IT, and their principle is groups of students of 10 with an industry partner, and the groups have to be interdisciplinary, so you have to have business, design, marketing, psychology, any group really, doesn't really matter. And the industry give a budget of $15,000. That group work for a whole year. They can use the $15,000 however they want. It's really handing a lot of responsibility over to the students. So, but how do you manage those groups? And now students hate group work. No, they've got that all working. Groups, they train them in project management. So that's where I've learnt that. They pick one person and give them training. And if it falls down, how can you guarantee to the client when they've given $15,000 that they will honour that and give them something? Our industry clients would hate that, because they want what they want. You brief the client. We guarantee nothing. The students may fall over. They may not even show up because we don't employ them, and they're free agents, aren't they? It's not like we're a design studio. We can't guarantee they're going to do anything. How many times have I made this fabulous opportunity for my student group out in industry to meet the innovation managers, and I'm standing there and they're not there yet, and oh my God, it's just going to be me. But they do show up and they're a bit late and they don't take notes. It's all part of the experience. And industry say, that was a learning experience for some of my students. I can see that you're taking it all in, but just a bit of advice, it would really relax me if you took some notes while I'm talking. So just these little tips for how to work in the workplace is, we might say it as lecturers, but to hear the innovation manager of some big business say it, oh, I better do that. So, so you tell the industry, we guarantee nothing. They may not show up. They may fail. Failing is an important rite of passage while they're at university. And you may get nothing for your money. And sometimes we don't have money involved, but sometimes we do. So anyway, Design Factory. So that is 24 universities now are part of it. Teams are now across universities. And this is a lot about connections, interdisciplinary teams. This is over at Stanford doing the ME310 course where they have to make a car, this was probably a bicycle out of cardboard. They have 3 days and 3 hours and interdisciplinary teams, and they have to write it. It has to work. But what they all love is the connections and the soft skills and the people management and understanding what their core skill is. Are they a natural communicator, or are they a quiet in the background, or do they want to be a leader? Maybe they said they wanted to be a project manager, but they're not a born project manager at all, but they've had a go and someone else is. Maybe they're an IT person, but they know they could do a great presentation better than the person who said they would. This is the monthly breakfast where, like you've got here, exactly the same, but the idea is just to be very fluid, and lecturers, vice chancellors, industry, entrepreneurs and students all just having breakfast together, and you brief people in having conversations with the person who's standing next to you. So lots of serendipity and spontaneous meetings occurring. So lots of connection with peers, industry, academics and entrepreneurs. So that's number one, connections. Number two, the brief. Be prepared to redefine the industry brief. So you know how if you've tried an industry problem, they say, this is what I want. And it might be a bit boring for us in the university. So I've gotten really used to redefining it, and the clients are fine with it. Be flexible with the brief. For example, I worked with Village Cinemas, and they came to me and said, can you get the students to work on what we'd really like, and they sound all very definite, new merchandising products for the food bar, the candy bar. Oh, that's really boring for my design students, and I've got lots of different design students. I came back to them, I said, how about we do what's the future of the cinema? They went, oh, well, I don't know, well, okay. So, and I said, we can do the what I often do is we can do the merchandising products, but it'll just be one small part of the future of the cinema. You know, we'll do it for you, but we'll do something bigger. We'll add. You're okay if we add, and we'll present to you something bigger. Sometimes you can get the client to say, you can ask them, what are your top 5 questions in your business, the R&D questions that you're really interested in? We don't need to work on your top 2, they're probably quite confidential, but give us your number 5 and, you know, and put the student my group onto that. So that's a great way of going there, and that gets to the big heart of the question. So this one, they wanted a 60th anniversary brand, a logo, and you can see here the logo, the students designed the logo, but this student said, he said to me, that's boring. You know, I want to do more than just a logo. And so he designed a campaign, and a campaign for Village, which is based on, you know, 3,600,000 dates have happened in the cinema, and choc tops have been enjoyed over 60 years of tradition. So he came up with an advertising campaign. Village were just blown away. The cinema said, we haven't seen anything so creative from our creative agencies for 10 years. My God, we're going to use this. So they've changed their whole, and I've got on the right is the student work that was done in my class, and on the left is what Village now have on their website. They've literally taken the heart of the student work and put it on their websites. It's very exciting for the student, and they sent it out to 20,000, you know, members to see if it was on track with their branding and their values and all. So this is about the creativity and innovation that can come forward if you redefine the brief and let the students, I see the students as rough diamonds, because always over 10 years now, industry say, it's so creative. I used to get a bit nervous that the students wouldn't perform as well as industry, but now I realise I'm really confident that the students might not be as polished, but they're actually more creative. And that's what industry are looking for from our students. So even though they haven't got years of experience, they've got brilliant ideas, and industry love it. So this one, they said, how about, I see you've got a lot of interior design students, so how about we design a new cinema so they can eat, you know, millennials, gold. We have gold class. Do you have gold class? Yeah, so gold class is too expensive for young people. So what's a new form of eating while watching a movie, getting people back into the cinema? So the students this year have done this. The vegan burger, they said, no, we just need social media, and we need posters, and they've got now serving local restaurants coming in, and yeah, so they showed this, and Village loved it. So what do they get from this, from giving them the go? The main thing I think they always say year after year to me, the students, I feel so confident. It's improved my confidence. It's all about their confidence. And when I give them the choice, if they don't take up the brief, they still get confident by watching the others. So sometimes they feel like they need to watch the others. This is in first and second year. And then they get the confidence to try one of the briefs the following year. So the choice, it's important to still have choice. You can't, this is what the design factory model is, and what I've tried, it works really well. They need to have a choice. I'm still playing with, you can have a hypothetical or a real brief in second year, and I'm getting a low take-up of choosing the 7 real projects and a high take-up still of hypothetical in second year. So now I'm thinking of forcing the issue a bit more, because when I survey them at the end, they say, oh, if I had have known how much fun those real clients were, and when I watch those students, so it's still a learning experience, but maybe if I had to, it would have been really great. So, you know, I'm toying with how you can still give them a choice, but force them. Maybe you just have 10 projects and they have to choose one of them. And the way to make it doable across large groups of students, like 400, keep the unit brief the same. I keep the unit brief the same and the learning theory the same, but they apply it across contexts. And that's what a skill industry want. They want them to be able to be flexible and be able to apply theory into new contexts. So I keep the brief the same, which makes it doable for me. And then when somebody says I need a brand, yep, that can go in second year, yep, that can go in masters, that can go there. And I just get them to write a half-a-page brief on what they're all about and put it on Blackboard with my briefs remaining the same. So that makes it doable. Second year, this is second year logo design, so branding. So they've got a whole book to do, and these are all real world clients, which is so exciting. I'll just show you, like, how do you get the briefs? How do you get the clients? You might think, well, one year I was doing a branding lecture following the philosophy lecturer, and we got talking and we had lunch, so these serendipitous meetings, and he said, do you think the power of branding or the power of design could match the power of ideas? Do you think you could do something for us at Open Day? So I got my students, for example, to rebrand philosophy. And those first two students in second year have never done a brand before in their life, redid philosophy as a brand, which was very exciting. And they're using it in Open Day now at Swinburne on our campus. And yeah, like APO, Stop Human Trafficking, the Design Factory we did, Fitzroy Legal Service, so, you know, teaming up with the law departments and doing their pro bono logos. That final one, OOAC, that's a really nice example. He was a dentist, an experienced a dentist that does maximilial facial dentistry. He was setting up a philanthropic, you know, organisation to do pro bono work in Asia, and he came back to do industrial design as a mature age student. So there he was doing industrial design, so he could develop a brand new something for the jaw. And then he came in, and then I met him, and he said he wanted a brand for his you know, charity work. So my master's students did the brand. He was doing industrial design over there, and he was a dentist practicing and running a charity. So a lovely mix of things going on. Okay. So number 4, creativity. So encourage this risk taking. So we put in our assessment, you know, even if it's failed or they've taken the wrong direction, it didn't actually work, they get marks for actually taking a risk and not being safe and boring in their approach and it working. So you can put it in the marks. Failing fast, failing forward, you've probably heard that. We do that a lot, so that because that helps with innovation. In our Design Factory work on sprints, and you've heard of the double diamond that we work with in design, you know, going through the processes of design, you know, fleshing out, coming in, fleshing out, coming in, sprinting through the double diamond. We've got one of our lecturers writing on, so we can go through this process of innovation really fast. Sometimes we say, the client's coming at next week at 12, and then the week before you say, actually, it's changed. Normally things get pushed out, but sometimes we say, actually, they're coming today. So just be ready in 2 hours. You know, just trick them up a bit, and that's just little ways of giving them the experience of what it's like in industry. Got to think on your feet and be creative and flexible. Be ready to present at any time. An example that I've done that I think worked really well with creativity. EDF, it's an energy company in France, and they put out, show us a new energy efficient product. It's a worldwide competition for all students, multidiscipline teams. At the 6-week mark, I got our energy efficient, our sustainability people in to review the students' work. It was a Design Factory project. And they said, you're on the wrong track completely. It's just all wrong. They thought they had the most fabulous product, and they kind of did, but it didn't hit the mark of what the brief was really on about. And the industry, you know, and so our advisors told them that. And to their credit, they were really disappointed, but they threw their 6 weeks work out, threw it out, and started again on the brief. And in the end, they won the competition. I just think that's a really lovely story, because they had to start again at week 6. But they took all that thinking, and to their credit, they took the expert advice on and they started again. And they were displayed at the London Olympics. The energy company put it on their website. So that's an example, and here it is. So what they did was, simple, energy efficient solution. They redesigned the bill and had little icons and stories and goals, and thought the whole communication, it should be about communication, not about a new product. And they weren't communication designers, they were product designers. So that, and IT and business marketing students, it was a Design Factory project. The other thing students say about this, they are motivated to work to a high level. They say, I can't believe that I actually did this. At the end of the year, I didn't think I was capable of this. And this happens again and again and again. So they push themselves to a year above what they normally would when they're working, when they have these external people come in and give them some advice. So even if you haven't got an industry client, You can get some lecturers from other departments to come in at week 6 or week 12 and just give another critical eye on your projects. So that's an easy way of giving them some of that exposure to others outside what they're doing. Research. We know that industry really value anything we do on research, any user testing methods that designers do, any new experimental things. So that's one way also, especially in the design field, not to be competing with local studios doing their work. We add a research component. So in my area, I do co-design research, so end user research. So it's where we ask the end user in creative ways what they want for the future of the products in the world. So here they are doing the future of the cinema. And so you're encouraging the industry through research to support research. Here we are doing aging, and what sort of grab rails do people want, and how we position it to the students is your future self for aging. How does your future self want rails in the bathroom? So we've got these lovely, creative ways of finding out how the rails should be. So what you do when you get the clients on board is you're educating the clients or the partners, or you can reframe the word client to partner or sponsor. So I quite like partner. You're our partner, and you can educate them in research alongside the students, and they actually really value that. So it changes the position as well. The students understand why the theory matters. When you bring the research in and you bring a client in, it all comes together like a jigsaw. Here we are doing more aging research. When the students were asking how the elderly would like this new aging website to be when they've got to find their services, the elderly said, and they're really working with 80-year-olds, they said they didn't even care about how they got their medical information. They wanted to give back. They wanted to be able to connect, network, share their experience, and give back to the community. So they proposed to our client that we had, new ways of connecting websites, which the client had never heard of, and they thought it was brilliant. So by doing this real-world research, that worked well. Focus on real-world learning. So we have to focus on the student learning, not the partner outcomes. So that's turning it on its head a little bit. This was a lovely one, a working stick. This was a fashion design student. How should a walking stick be? They thought they might be able to colour code it and have it, fashion accessorised. But when they asked the elderly people, they said they'd like a torch, they'd like a GPS, they'd like Wi-Fi, they'd like an alarm in case they fell over. They might even like tongs to pick something up if they couldn't pick it up. So wow, and our client wants to commercialise this product, and we're in the process of getting this patented with a product manufacturer. So this was through doing research, which is great. We've got to give them resources if we want to equip them. We've got to prepare them for business, freelance, intellectual property, things like this. So what I've developed is, you could do this in your own fields, a business of design toolkit. I do them a how to get paid lecture, sample quotes, sample invoices. I've even trialled, on day one, I give them a brief. They write to me a return brief and prepare a quote for the semester, budgeting out their time based on how I've done the brief. And on the last day, they have to do an invoice for what they just did, because they really all need that. We know in the future there's going to be a lot more, 17 jobs, and they're going to have a lot more freelance work, and so they need ABN advice. I've even had the ATO, the tax office, come in and give them a small pack each of what they need. And I try to encourage them all in second year. I ask them, who's got an ABN? Talk to someone who already has one and get yourself set up by next week, because it's free and you need an ABN and that sort of thing. So getting that going in second year is really great. They really appreciate that. On my final week, when we've got nothing to do, week 12, I always give them a how to get paid business tools lecture. And this is a kind of very simple designerly business toolkit that I give them. And I show them how to present to clients. You don't have to give everything. You need to have a one-pager in design, a one-pager on what you've done for the whole semester, easy, with your name and copyright and your phone number on them. They never put their name and their phone number and their email on anything. and how are they ever going to get any work with the client? So, just training them on a one summary page. Project management, obviously we need to coach them in managing time, clients and resources. That's hard, and it's a worry, isn't it? Giving our students a client contact and what are they going to do and how they're going to be. They don't know how to email. They're terrified of emailing the client. They've never written a proper email. They're terrified in second year. So getting them to send an email to you first time, you edit it, and then they get more confident, and then they're up and running. MFB, we worked with the fire brigade. So there's some firefighters there that we worked with on how they would like fire safety games. And we did this logo, website, tools, games for primary school kids. And what you find when they're learning all this project management, working with firefighters, getting out there, we launched it at the show, we as teachers start to work alongside the students for the external partner. So it always felt when you're doing hypothetical jobs that the students are working for us as lecturers, and you're kind of a little bit in opposition because you're marking them, but what are you going to mark? They're expecting to mark from you. But once you bring a client in, no matter how small it is, no money, and they just arrive twice, week 1 and week 12, the students start to see you as a coach alongside them. And so they come and ask you, and you can really work together, and that's why the work is so much better, because you're working together for someone. I wonder what they'll say, but what will they say? How about we do this together? So it works really well. This idea of reflection inspires students to reflect on the skills they've learnt. So we're finding that the students used to say to us, which is my next one, feedback, but I don't get enough feedback, but you don't give me any feedback. So now what we've all learnt to do, we've done some research in this, is say, and now I'm going to give you feedback. This week we're having feedback from your peers, from me, from industry, and could you record the feedback that I'm going to give this person, write it down and give it to her, just by mentioning that word feedback all the time. And now in the student responses they say we get such good feedback, and we get feedback every week. So you've got to kind of name it and label it, and I'm going to do the same with reflection. You need to reflect on the skills you've learnt. What are the skills you've learnt today or this week? Can we put it into some business language so it can roll off the tongue when they leave university in that transition, so they can go to industry? I learnt this, I can do this, research skills, user centre skills, whatever the skills are in your discipline, so it can just come in a business language. And maybe they could dot point it at the end of whatever they hand in or an extra sheet. So ask them to name the skills they've learned, reframe it in a language to suit your industry, scaffold those skills, so then you can look from first year to fourth year and scaffold them and build on them and keep getting them to repeat those words. And what I'm doing now, which I love, is passing on the learning to the next semester. So on my last day, I asked the students, can you name the skills you've learned and what would you like to tell the next lot of students? So this passing the baton. Oh, if only I had have known that, if I could have done it this way, and what I really learnt, and if I just did this, and if they could write that down, I'm thinking of some sort of capsule, and then I tell the first day of the next lot, last year students wanted me to pass this on to you. So it's not just me, and it's passing the baton. So that's a really nice thing to do. Here's a student reflection. Somebody out in industry, they said what they learnt. Read that. So they have to work out what's needed, and then they brought that into their business, their little, their business, which was nice. This is another form of reflection. In design, we say do 50 sketches to start off your logo design. So here they all are. Then choose 3 of the best to work on. And instead of just letting them just do one, because they, how they just choose one, we get them to argue why these 3 are the best out of all of them, and then argue why this one they've chosen over the other. That's a skill they need when they get into the workplace, to be able to recommend and argue, and that's a research skill as well, isn't it? So getting that embedded in your project somehow, arguing for why their choices are so. And there's their final one, and getting them to argue why they've made those choices. But not always in every class in a reflection journey and lots of layers and everything I did, and then I did this, and then I did this, but more in a business sort of way. that you would in business. So number 9, coordinating the lecturer, the student and the industry feedback. Here you are, this is like an example in class, the students are presenting, there's the industry client, and what I found happening at the end of the year was the industry would stand up and say, this is what I think of the project. Sometimes I wouldn't quite agree, or they wouldn't really have the real point. And the students hung on every word they said. And then you think all the learning that you've given them all semester is out the window. So you've got to kind of rope that in. And so now I do it very strategically. Student presents, industry person makes their point. Maybe there's 2 of them. I get a student, I write it on the board, down the roll. Then one student gives some feedback, and then I stand up and round it all off. I agree with what the industry partner has said, but I don't agree on that. I actually think an animal on a wine bottle is fantastic. You know, we have seen that. We've worked on this all semester and it's a good way of going. Sometimes you can disagree with industry and coordinate all that feedback. So this is where you are coaching industry as well as the client. So they're not the be all and end all, and they go, oh, right. Oh, they've learnt something too. They like to learn something from the university when they come to university. It's an open process. You can be very open. You can say, sorry, client, I know that this might sound funny because I'm going to say something against your business, but we need to all be in an open process here. We're teaching the students. Can I just comment on how you spoke and how this happened, and you can make comments on it. It's open. Here we go. We've got the Lord Mayor, one of the mayors of a city council doing a speech, a student giving a speech, me wrapping it up, a market holder giving a speech. Here I had the students' work hanging in the marketplace, and we had the students voting. So this is one of the projects where I got right out there in the community and did a project in the community. It was a lot of work, and I haven't done that very many more times, but it was really fun. It's better to get the industry in. Time, so that's where I lead to time. Balancing that industry time frames with our time frames. So the way to get around this, to make it work, be doable, set a timetable early. So you might be, we know as soon as we know our timetable, this is the lecture spot, that's when industry can come. I know now, Tuesday 8:30, bad luck if you can't come, that's what we're working with. At Tuesday 8:30 on this day, on week 1, week 6, week 12, I want the industry partner to be available to come in. It could be anyone in their industry. And so once they know early, they actually make it happen. And it just all works smoothly. So you just put the email out to 10 people, put it out to 20. And then if they want to come, they come. And I don't fuss too much if they're not there. I say sorry to the students, we tried. But lots come and they learn from others. So it works really well. Set it early. Minimum engagement from industry, they come at week 1, 6, 12. Students will give this is the other part. I used to stress about it all working by week 12, but now I just say to the industry, concept design, this is for design, but you find a point that's workable for you in your area, that's where it stops. This is what we are presenting at week 12. If you want to take it further, if you want to make it doable, then that's up to you and the student. It's outside of the university's control or area or domain. The student can come for more advice from me if they want, but you can work out a freelance arrangement. There can be money or not money. That's over to you. We can't control that. So at week 12, it's concept. So learning from the fresh food market. Here they all are. The client comes to us in week 1. At week 6, they come and review. And at week 12, we went out to the market. And then we did all this work in week 13 and 14, setting up the market for Christmas, which I probably wouldn't do again. It was great fun, but it was hard. You can't rope the students in once we've finished our timetable. They're gone and half of them are there and it's not fair and you've got to be fair. So I don't do that anymore. They're surprised by their own capability. They're the logos that got made into the marketplace, which was wonderful. What they say is I get a glimpse into my future world of work. I love that. I get a glimpse. By shaking a hand and meeting a real person, I get a feel for it. So this is a summary. What it means for teaching is we have to be flexible. We educate the clients or partners alongside our students. We can do a coaching style where we're on their side. Follow me. They're following me because you're modelling in front of the client and what you would do. You work alongside the student for that external partner. You focus on the student learning, not what the client wants, what the student has to learn, and the client has to come on board. What happens for the students is they're motivated to work to a higher level, higher than they thought they would. They understand why the theory matters. They're surprised by their own capability. They always say that. They focus on real world outcomes, not assessment. I find they don't even complain anymore. Why didn't I get this mark or that mark? It just disappears. They start to feel proud of what they've done, and did the client love it? And what did the client say? And they don't even talk about assessment anymore, so that's wonderful. It's authentic assessment. You don't have all those complaints. They get confidence and they get this glimpse into their future world. And they're the 10 principles again. And that's all. So, so looking forward to hearing some questions or how it might work or any ideas you've got. Okay.
Thank you, Simone. That was really good. I love the concept of partnering with the students. I think that's a way forward for a lot of disciplines, and as you say, it gets rid of the whole "I didn't get this mark."
Yeah.
And that's great. So you're breaking down the barriers between students and teachers there. I think that's really a great way we can go. So does anybody in the room have any questions? We have about 8 minutes for some questions.
Yeah.
There's one up the back. Hang on. I'll bring the mic. So the people on here.
Yeah, Andrew Whittaker, lecturer in industrial design.
Hi.
So I've been over to your university earlier in this year. Impressed with some of your facilities.
Yeah.
Just curious to know, timing-wise, how you set up the relationships with partner industry partners.
Yeah.
Is it something you do a semester prior or weeks prior, or because that's the thing I always struggle with. We get our timetables and then all of a sudden, bang, you're on. So it takes a little while to.
I know. I find that it's good if you can all, as a community, share a bit too. That's what I do. So we all share. I've got this. This might suit you. This might suit you. And so we give leads and people to each other. People come to a central body as well, community engagement or marketing, and you can let them know. If you want, I can do things in this and this area. If anyone comes to you, let me know. So they pass you things. But no, I don't set it. I used to think it has to be set up a long time in advance. No, I get clients that come, because if you set your brief and your brief, it's done. They can do hypothetical. But if a real world client comes, great. If it comes 2 days before I start, fine. I just say, just get yourself a one page. I might give them a little template, what you're about, what your aim is, what your big question is, what some your competitors are. I have 5 sort of questions. They write that, and then I just put it on Blackboard. Done. Come, and then these are the 3 days you come, so you can put a page together of what your expectations are of them. So I can get things coming in 2 days before I start because of the brief being set. Yeah, but sometimes you have to massage that relationship. I know that, and talk, and this is what we do, and this is how it is. But it's fine doing it very quickly as well.
Thanks. As a question from online, has this model been translated to other discipline areas? Yeah,
we've got it going in engineering. We have there's all the law clinics and the nursing clinics and the psychology clinics. But that's model of 24 students, isn't it, like a class? But the engineering, we've got a big engineering department at Swinburne, and I love the way they get them to, and the pilots, we've got pilot training. They get them to dress up, that's one thing that I'm really playing with, to put the cap on, and they're called associate engineers. So this language around what you're doing at uni, you're already a base level in that discipline. So yes, it has.
Hi, my name's Katrina McLaughlin. I'm the OCF or online course facilitator for UniSA's Bachelor of Digital Media.
Right.
So I've been a working journalist, media person and academic for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to embed a lot of this thinking in a purely online course.
Yeah.
Your section on resources, one of the key things I think is that they need to develop their own brand.
Yes.
Who they are. So when you're thinking about ABNs and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they do.
But that's a really big thing to
do.
I
know.
Do you do any thinking on that?
We think because I run second year branding, I have the whole 500 students and I do branding. So I've thought about that. They need their own brand.
Yeah.
I should be just taking this class and they have their own brand. But then they need something else in their folio. Should I do both alongside each other? Should they do it on their own and do a brand? Yes. We do it in fourth year. We get them to develop who I am as a designer, and they do a portfolio. So they do a subject, so I don't have to do it in second year now, but they do need it, and they need it early.
Yeah.
I think they need to do it. We used to have a professional component, a 6-week winter school subject, where they did all of that, professional career stuff, and they developed themselves as a brand. I think they need to do it in their own time alongside my branding subject, because I've talked to them and they can come and show me. Or maybe they do 3 weeks, you know, you take 3 weeks out of 12 and they develop their own brand. They do need it.
Yeah.
They do need it.
Okay.
I have had a whole subject, a 12-week subject of it, but the university decided, no, it should be like a third in every subject rather than one whole unit.
Because they have the potential to get work very quickly.
Yeah,
from
they
these.
do. And they're not ready for it. And they
No.
muck it up with their quotes and invoices and
Yeah.
way of dealing with the clients.
Yeah.
And they do need practice in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Simone. Craig Phillips from School of Nursing. Really interested in the breakfast meetings.
Yeah.
Presumably academia, students and industry
Yep.
all get together.
Yep.
How do you set that up and what's on the agenda when you actually meet?
Yeah. No agenda. It's breakfast, so it's food. So the students cook food. They cook Finnish buns and have fruit. And so there's no agenda. It's about just talking. It's a bit like this. It's 7:30 to 8:30. And you just put the timetable out for the year on Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month. Here it is. And then you send it to as many people as you know, and you let everybody just pass it on. And you might get 20 people, you might get 150. And it happens the first Tuesday of every month. And yeah, it is about entrepreneurs and a student and anybody, and you just over food and you brief everyone. This is about talking, just having a casual chat about, talk to someone you don't know. It's very much encouraging a networking, talking atmosphere. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Hi,
Hi.
Jo Mignoni from School of Art, Architecture and Design.
Hi.
Just wondering, you mentioned first years previously. I'm just wondering, do you use this approach working with industry partners with first years? And if so, how do you find that goes with working with many people who may essentially be school leavers at this level?
I haven't taken first year, I take second year. But we've talked a lot about scaffolding it all the way through and how would you scaffold it. First year we've decided they could have, I'm thinking that it's really good, hard, but they could go out and interview someone and bring it back into their class. So, because you've got so many of them, and that gets them out into the world of work, and you don't have to coordinate it all. So interviewing or a case study on something real, and they could get that through their family networks. They should bring their own experience. We should honour that they're bringing their own experience from their family and what they've already got. They've already got 18 years of experience. So say they've got a grandmother with dementia and they really want to do something with dementia in their life. We don't know that. We don't do a lot of talking about what they'd like to do while they're at uni. And so maybe they could do something with dementia and aged cares, you know, and that's a real world something or other, and they could go and do it in their own way. But you can have guest lectures come in and you can model. I've had naming branding lectures come in. So when you have the big lecture hall, that's the time to do it. Bring somebody in, they do case studies, they showcase what they do, and maybe they have to bring in 2 or 3 things that they've learned from the world of work in their projects. So it's a simpler way. We're thinking of them being like witnessing the world in first year, and then they get to be an expert advisor in their final years. So they just have to sort of document, and you think of the research process, they're at the very base level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everybody. We've run out of time now for questions, so if we could show our appreciation to Simone again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming along, everybody. We'll see you next month, and thank you very much, Simone. It was fantastic.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Goodbye to everybody online. Goodbye.